God. I just came home from a run. It's about 11 p.m. here, and I found a letter in my mailbox. A strange one. I'd already picked up the mail on the way in from work tonight, but I've just barely been going through the motions lately, and it is possible I had missed one. I hate reaching all the way to the back of the box. Something about it just is absolutely terrifying to me. I'm not sure what I expected to find. You read about this crap on the internet, and I see it in horror films, but you never actually expect it to happen to you. The letter read, "I know what you did. You sick, disgusting, evil creature. It took me a while, but now I know the truth. I know about all the lies you've told, and what you did to Kristen that summer. I know, and I'm going to tell everyone." For a moment I chuckled, a sinister something I learned to enjoy when I was young, and a tribute to my dark side. See, the thing is, no one was around when I did it, so someone had to have been watching me, a thought I couldn't bear. I have lived in paranoia since it happened, constantly looking over my shoulder while I work, double-checking the backseat of my car before I get in. Sometimes I check the trunk, but I have to do it at least 3 times. My OCD won't allow otherwise. I spend the better part of tonight pacing my floor, trying to make out who could have sent me this letter. The incident with Kristen was 2 years ago, approaching 3. To think that someone has been following me this long gives me the creeps. I'm justified in this, right? Oh, crap. I'm so scared to sleep tonight. I just keep thinking about it. I'm not that interesting of a person. My routine is boring. I can't think of anything that can even remotely make me stand out to a potential stalker or whatever. I guess you deserve to know what happened to Kristen. I wish I had a more elaborate story for what I did to her, but I don't. We were always running together, different marathons, different paths, different trails. We traveled together to find the best paths to train on, all over the country. We both loved the outdoors. We grew up spending our days seeing who could sweat the most, who could climb higher, and who could swim the farthest. Kristen was always better, always having to aid me in some way. I knew she was superior, or would find a way to be, but still I continued to allow her to beat me. I hated how humble she was about it too, like she didn't know how great she was. This stretched from athletics and academics to boys in popularity. I was, of course, cool by occasion, but Kristen was always the star. I never knew how much it bothered me, how much it consumed me, until I let it go too far. It was like in one instant, I snapped. In one instant, I killed my best friend. It was the summer after college graduation, and we were biking some pretty serious terrain in Colorado, training for a competition. Chris hit a huge rock and fell off her bike, then bounced off a giant old tree. A maneuver that, no doubt, cracked her spine or her head, and proceeded to roll down a hill that was completely covered in other branches, thorns, and rocks. I ran down the hill as fast as I could to help Kristen, when it occurred to me. This was my moment. I had a chance to become the victim and the hero simultaneously. I don't know why, but that sentiment had always interpreted as villain to me. I just don't feel like you can really be both without sacrificing something at a very high price. I stood over her mostly lifeless body and examined her. She was beautiful, like a modern Catherine Hepburn or something. Bloody, different bones sticking out of different parts of her lithium pants. Disfigured but still gorgeous, and it made me sick. She looked at me pleadingly, and I looked at her in the eye and said, "I'm sorry," and watched her die. I let it happen. I convinced myself that for this to look real, so I wouldn't look like I've killed and that I had been injured too. I biked back up the path and came down again, this time at a higher speed, just not fast enough to kill me. I aimed for the rock that Kristen had hit, and hit it in the perfect spot. I calculated that if I hit it just right where Kristen had, I'd end up in front of the rock, directly in the bike path so someone would find me. Us. So someone would find us. I honestly don't know what made me do it. I could have easily saved her. It's amazing what happens to your psyche when you know no one's watching. I laid there with my head bleeding, knowing I would survive. I had thorns everywhere, pricking my skin. I tried not to pick at them, which wasn't hard since I couldn't really move my wrist. It had to look like I was in real pain, and I'd done a splendid job with audacity. I was in mind-numbing pain. I just knew someone would eventually find me. It was still early in the day, and bike paths were busy on beautiful days like that day. And no one came down the path, though. The plan had backfired. I laid in a pool of my own blood for far longer than I cared. The second morning arrived and I woke with blurred vision. I had a blanket over me, and there was an orange laying by my feet. I tried to sit up and grab it, but no use. I wasn't strong enough. I assumed that I'd lost too much blood. Someone had been here to cover me. Had they seen Kristen's body? Why hadn't they taken me to a hospital? The curiosity was killing me. I had to know what was going on. How had no one found me yet? Who had covered me? I turned my torso as best as I could to reach the orange with my left hand. With luck, I rolled it towards me and started peeling. It was just enough to get me back on my wobbly legs and feet. Not only was Kristen's body nowhere to be found, but it wasn't even on the same part of the bike path. I wasn't in woods I recognized, and our bikes were chained up on a tree about 500 feet in from where I was standing. I kept my panicking brief. For long years of being an outdoor girl, playing in fields and forests and visiting my grandfather's farm, I was unusually mentally prepared for the situation. I took a deep breath in and let out a loud sigh for Kristen, the first of many I would make. A regrettable sigh. The amount of grief her death had caused me just hasn't been worth it. Feeling like I was in her shadow constantly was nothing compared to her afterglow. It was like the rest of the world just wouldn't let her die. I combed that area for unusual things. I turned stones over and rustled leaves, looking for the key to unlock my bike. I searched for over an hour, and I knew I was losing speed. Dizziness, hot-headedness clouded my judgment on what was what. I had to get out of the woods. I walked until I stammered. I crawled. The palms of my hands and knees were bloodied, and my head was starting to crust and smell like infection. 5 days total in the woods and on the road without water or sleep, but I finally found my way to a park ranger's lodge, about 50 miles from where Kristen and I had been biking. I had no idea how I'd arrived there. Those 5 days were the most horrific time in my life, and the days and months that had passed have been even worse. I'm numb from the experience, really. I'm constantly asked for interviews and I decline. I've been asked to write articles and blogs and books. I can't do it. The first year was the worst, but things have seemed better lately. I was finally starting to let go of my guilt. That was until I received this letter. I'm going to take some melatonin and try to get some sleep, though I doubt I'll have any success. I'm really upset about all this, and I don't know where else to say something. I'll keep you posted on what happens. Okay, so I just woke up and checked my mailbox. I found something else in there. Another envelope addressed to me, though it wasn't a letter. It was a key with the yellow sticky note that had an address on it, and a nasty, crusty coffee ring. I'm debating on whether or not to go to the address. I don't recognize the key. I know it's not to a house or a car. It looks like it could go to a mailbox, but I'm not sure how to locate that. Wouldn't it look odd if I went to the post office and asked what box the key belonged to? Anyway, I showed the key to my mom when I came back in from the mailbox, and she said it looked just like the key to her old bike lock, which she hadn't seen in a while. I borrowed that lock when I went biking with Kristen, but my belongings were never to be found. And I put the key in the front zipper of my backpack. It's not possible, is it?